even though Buffalo gets the ball after half. It sucks.
What's up, everybody? It's Big Mike. I am the host of the Ragsdale Rumble. It is the national championship pick game. Obviously not as excited as we could have been if Alabama had taken care of business and won. But we will still do a pick on.
I'm gonna do the whole picks like this.
Those other two teams that are playing in the game. I'm sure you guys know the teams since you guys are picking. I haven't done a whole lot of analysis just because my heart's not in it. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But we will, try to get you guys to do some analysis, have a pick. We will not go over our results as there is another game left. We will have a recap show after the season where we declare who won the Ragsdale Rumble. And as I introduce them, will it be Rodg Ragsdale? How you doing today, Rodg?
Mike, I'm doing fantastically splendid on this beautiful Sunday evening.
Why did it feel like it took a little to get to that? Are you okay?
Because I thought about saying something else. I'm not doing as good as I thought I would be doing since Alabama's not playing tomorrow. I really, like, coming into this show, like maybe a week and a half ago, I'm like, oh man, I'm doing great, kid. I'm looking forward to it. Energetic. I'm pumped. I'm enthusiastic. I'm just doing all right, but I'm still doing fantastically splendid. Let that be noted.
Okay. Well, and you should be. The Dolphins are winning at halftime against the Bills right before the playoffs. Alabama basketball won their first SEC game, so that's a little bit of win. Alabama gymnastics won their first meet this weekend out in Las Vegas. So there's a lot of good stuff going on inside to be happy about. All right. So with that, we will go over to Herb. Herb, how you doing today? I know you've been trying to find some new sports to follow. Don't know if basketball or gymnastics are either one of those, but how are you doing today?
Yeah, pickleball seems to actually be leading the vote. So I guess I'll have to start checking out the professional pickleball league.
Well, and I made a comment about that. I do know a little bit. We actually played pickleball back in 1942 when I was in high school. That was one of the sports our coach in PE actually made us play and learn every year. So I've known about pickleball for 150 years since I was in high school. So if you ever need any pointers, just let me know.
Will do.
But we will, I guess, talk about football. This may be more of a coping episode than anything. Yeah. As we go over the two teams that will play in the national championship game. I think the game is in Houston. It's somewhere in Texas. And it is the Washington Huskies against that other team. The Michigan Wolverines, and that's kind of hard to say still after last week. But they are two undefeated teams. They are the number 1 and number 2 seeds. So, there is that. Both undefeated. So, I mean, they've earned their spot. So they deserve the respect for going the entire season undefeated. And Rodg, we'll start with you as we normally do. Just out of the whole game from what you've seen this year, and I know you've probably seen Michigan more than Washington as we've played them. Yeah. But what do you think your number 1 key to the game is coming up tomorrow night?
I think the number 1 key for Washington is going to be protecting Penix.
He stole my line.
I just feel like offensively, if Washington can protect Penix and give him some time to throw the ball, he doesn't need a long time. He's got a pretty quick release. He doesn't hold the ball for too long. But if they can give him enough time to throw the ball, make some good deep passes, then Michigan's not going to be able to give out the same offensive output as Washington. They're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with them as that. You can't go blow-to-blow with Washington. I mean, Penix had, 430 yards in the Sugar Bowl against Texas. I mean, Michigan's got a good defense. We know that, and unfortunately, they played good defense against us. But anyway.
Did they, though, or did our offensive line just kind of say, eh?
Yeah.
Which,
they can run the ball. But Michigan's just not known. They're really not known for scoring like over 30 points a game. They play, keep it in the mid-20s. McCarthy's not going to go out there tomorrow and throw for like 300 yards. Okay, let's just put that out there. Maybe around 200. Maybe he'll have around 200, but they're going to run the ball a lot. Key to the game is Washington's offensive line. Give Penix some time. Give Penix some time to throw the ball, make his magic work, and I think Washington can take the victory.
All right, Herb, I know you said he stole your line, so I'm guessing you're going in the same direction. So what would be your number 2 key to the game since Rodg stole your number 1 key?
So the old cliche, styles make fights. So I think whichever team dictates the tempo. Washington obviously wants to play a quicker game, wants to get the ball out fast. Michigan wants to lean on their defense and their run game if possible. So if they can kind of muck it up, make it a slower game, I think that gives them the advantage. If Washington push this game into the 30s, that gives them the advantage.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that's your barometer right there. Whichever team can keep it the way they want to keep it. Michigan's perfectly fine with playing like a 17-17 game going into the fourth and kind of grind it out. So Washington's defense needs to slow down the Michigan running game.
Yeah.
Force them into some long third downs and take advantage of that. And on offense, they just need to go quick. They need to up the tempo. So whichever team dictates the tempo is going to win this game.
Okay. And so, I'm looking at the line. The line is Michigan by 5.5. Does that surprise you guys at all, or was that about what you expected, or do you think it would be higher? Or
I just think it's part of the whole Washington disrespect for the whole year. Yeah, I mean, weren't they about that? They were that to Texas. They were 9.5 to Oregon. It's like almost like none of these people have ever watched Washington play all year. So I think that feeds straight into the narrative that they want anyway. So I'm shocked at the line. I thought it'd be like Michigan -3, but
that's what I was thinking too. I didn't think it would be that high, and I just feel like if without the rankings, if you just had these two teams face each other, I think the line would be leaning more in Washington's favor. Again, just strictly off the amount of points that they could put up on the type of offense they have. So I'm kind of shocked, and I feel like the line started off at like 4, then went to 4.5, 5. Now it's at like 5.5. It's just kind of going up and down, and it'll probably change until tomorrow, maybe back down to 4.5, 5. I don't know. But
and see, here's the contradictory thing to me, especially with the analysis you guys have said about Michigan wanting it to make it a slower, kind of more sloppy game. The over/under is 56.5. So with a 5.5 point spread with 56, they're expecting Michigan to score about 30 to 35 points.
I don't think that's
I think they're kind of disrespecting the Washington offense there. Yep. It's like they're giving Washington's offense credit for pushing the line up, but they're thinking Michigan will still outscore that. It's just it's just all over the place. It's almost like two different people made the line, the over/under and the point spread. But I think they know because of Washington, and also that line could be baked in. Michigan gets up a couple touchdowns, and Washington's continuing playing catch up, and that gives more opportunities. So they could be playing something like that. But I don't get it.
I was going to ask because to me that disrespects Washington's defense a little bit by saying
which has happened.
Michigan hasn't put up that many points, almost all year. I don't know. Other than some cupcake games, I don't know that they put up 30 plus points in a whole lot of games. I haven't looked at all their schedule, but
the line actually kind of falls in hand with what my final score prediction is, and once we get to that, I'll reveal it. But it's kind of secret.
Yeah, I mean, just in their last 5 games, Michigan hasn't scored. They've scored 30 and 31, but they haven't scored a
30 was against Ohio State, right? Yeah.
I hate to say Michigan's offense was eerily kind of like, as far as output, it's just kind of like ours throughout the season. Really not a high-scoring team, but just rely heavily on their defense. So I don't know. I think Washington's going to carry the bulk of scoring tomorrow, though.
Yeah. So I don't know. Washington's an undefeated Power 5 champion. And they're going to be underdogs in their last 3. Like if they win, they're going to go undefeated for the whole year. Still manage to be underdogs in their last 3 games. Like you just don't see stuff like that. Especially like go back to the Oregon one, almost a double-digit underdog to start, and then 4 or 5 to Texas, and pushing 5 to Michigan. I just think
the 2 of those teams. Yeah, 2 of those teams you were outranked, and one you had hardly beaten earlier in the year. So that's definitely. At least Vegas, the experts out there in Vegas that set these lines are saying that they don't believe in Washington.
Which is weird because Washington seems to be the only team they're consistently getting wrong,
Yep.
Like you look at the lines for other games. I mean, you hate to say with ours, but they were spot on. And then Washington, it's like none of them have ever watched Washington. They're just throwing numbers out.
That line was Texas by 4, I think. And then obviously that didn't go their way, so. I mean, I did the same thing. I thought Washington was going to lose the first game to Oregon, and I thought in the rematch, I really thought Oregon was going to win because the line in that game was Oregon by like 9, I think, in the Pac-12 championship.
Yep.
And look what happened there. So,
I picked Washington in that one, and I picked Washington against Texas. So
you did.
Just in case you wondered, Raj, that was for you.
Wow, look at the time. Is Herb still talking?
Do those things. But we will go over the results of everything after the season. We will have I'll show you. I'll put out a quick update video after the national championship game to kind of give you a schedule when we're going to come out with a results video for who won the Ragsdale Rumble. But can't do that until we handle some business in this game. So we will jump right into that. Rod, you've been going first, the entire bowl season, so we won't change that here. Again, we talked about Michigan 5.5-point favorites, about 50 to 56 point, over under. Technically a neutral site game. I think there will be more Michigan fans there from what I've heard. But who do you think will win the game and why?
I'm gonna lean towards Washington with what I said earlier. I really think Penix is gonna have a really, really big game tomorrow. Michigan's, I think their front four, their front seven are really gonna do a good job. They're gonna put some pressure on them, but I think once Penix gets that momentum going, I don't think they're gonna be able to stop him in the air. I'm going with Washington. And again, with me saying that, we don't have a dog in the fight. Whoever wins. I wouldn't mind if Washington wins. I think that would be kind of funny. And then you see the Michigan fans come, that was our first natty trip since the 90s, and you fell short. And then we're going to look at them next season, and obviously they're going to have a big drop. They're going to have somewhat of a drop off with everybody they're losing to the league, but that's a whole nother discussion. So
I think both teams will end up, having that same scenario.
So to answer your question, I have Washington winning the game.
All right, Herb, do you agree, disagree? How do you think it'll go tomorrow night?
It scares me that Rod is picking. It scares me that Rod is picking Washington and using his little kid voice.
My name's Herb. I picked Washington in the Pac-12.
Go ahead.
If it's since they're Huskies, do you jump on a bandwagon, or is it like one of those sleds that they have like in the dog races?
I don't know a lot of Husky fans. I don't know a lot of Husky fans. We know Bo, but outside of Bo, I don't really know a lot of Husky fans. So I don't know.
I mean, how many Michigan fans do you know? What, 2? I think
you and Hoda, and
that's twice. We know twice as many Michigan fans as we know Washington.
I really don't.
And shout out to Mr. Yu, who apparently I'm so conceited. I thought you were talking about me. I was like, I didn't know I was a Michigan fan.
I'm sorry. I should have clarified
just
that.
a second. You're good. You're good.
I
should not be so self-concerned that I thought when you said you that you were talking about me. But here we are. But I'm sorry, Herb. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Pulling my best Kanye impression. But who do you think is going to win the game?
I guess technically we know like 2.5 Michigan fans.
Yeah.
So one of them popped up and claimed them after they beat us.
After they won, I was like,
yes.
I was like, so dude, I've never heard you say anything about Michigan since I've known you. So this is really strange.
So is it one of those situations where they start yelling "War Wolverines" or whatever? Is it that kind of situation? Like
they were still low key about it.
He said he'd been a Michigan fan since Anthony Carter. I had no idea who Anthony Carter was. I had to look it up. He was a receiver at Michigan from 1979 to 1982. I was like, who knows that?
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, no, I like, there's so many things. So, like, I guess the disrespect angle going for Washington. I like Penix. I like him kind of finishing his career like this on a high note. I do think that Washington's prepared to get the ball out quick. Got a great trio of receivers over there.
Yep.
And I think they'll kind of negate that pass rush from Michigan in that way. And I think the Washington defense will do just enough to slow them down.
Yeah.
And then you can't ignore the storyline behind it with the last Pac-12 champion winning the last 4-team playoff. I mean, it's just too much tied together. Figure if Disney can get involved, maybe the ref makes a wrong call somewhere towards the end. And let's be honest, man, with everything that's gone on with Michigan, it would be the worst thing for the NCAA to have Michigan win this title. And then like 5 years from now, vacate all the wins from this season.
I was thinking that too. I said, if Michigan wins, of course the Michigan fan base is going to be excited, but a lot of people out there who have already been calling them cheaters are going to come out saying the cheaters won. The NCAA needs to investigate, vacate it. So that's going to go on for a long time until they receive some sort of punishment.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask that after the picks. What percentage outside of Michigan fans is there anybody that are just going to be cheering for Michigan, because you have so much of a storyline behind Washington being the last Pac-12 and all that, and then the whole Michigan thing, where you could possibly have a Bill Self moment again, like they had in the NCAA tournament, where they're having to hand him the trophy and they're like, "Yeah, but we know you cheated," kind of deal. Yeah. Is there a percentage that it's going to be cheering for Michigan outside of Michigan fans?
I think it's like there's not only are people rooting against Michigan, Washington doesn't really have a lot of enemies. You never really
exactly
trash talking Washington that's not like Washington State, So I think those two combined, and then there's probably some Pac-12 people who would normally be rooting against Washington are like, you know what? It's our last hurrah. Let's go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Well,
You just feel like they're America's team right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're going to get any backlash from Pac-12 fans saying, "Hey, you're part of the reason our league is dying"? Because you're one of the teams that are leaving. One of the reasons that
they weren't even but the fact that I would go with the Pac-12 admitted, that's a whole nother can of worms there. But no, I mean Washington wasn't even the first to leave, so you can't really blame that. They had a chance.
They had to follow suit. They didn't have too much of a choice. So
I mean the whole thing was falling apart.
Yeah.
Pac-12 officials turned down deals because they thought they could get more and they overextended their hand.
Right.
So I go with the officials. You had like a whole year to put something together. Remember, we even talked about it on our show, and you were like, "Hey, they're supposed to be coming out with something today," and then they didn't come out with something today. And it's like, what's going on? So no, I think that's a bigger issue than just Washington.
Yep.
And I guess the only other thing that really affects game, you mentioned officials. Have we heard what league the officials are coming from? I know, like in our game, it was Big 12 officials, if I'm not mistaken. Do we know? Because I mean, that can affect how they play the game, how they're going to call the game, things like that. To an extent, it probably shouldn't, but it does. But I have not heard what conference the refs are coming from.
I don't know. I'm going to check with Bob after this. Bob is back, so I'm going to check with him to see what type of knowledge he has. He's been on a long break. I don't know. I'm very apoplectic right now.
He deserves it. If anybody deserves a long vacation, it's Bob.
Yeah.
So shout out, Bob. Hopefully you enjoyed your vacation over the holidays and before
that.
No,
don't give him a shout out. I'm really apoplectic right now, so I'll handle that and I'll have a discussion with him later.
I would love to agree with you or disagree, but I don't know what that word meant.
Herb, you want any background on that word, Herb?
I'm driving home from Dallas. What game am I? I'm listening to the game.
I think it was the.
So it was one of the games that was on Saturday. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. I guess there was a play in that game where there should have been a penalty called and there wasn't. And the announcers are describing it and saying, "Yeah, this is clearly should have been a penalty." And the announcer says, "And Lane Kiffin is apoplectic on the sideline." Right. And I call Raj and tell him about it. And it's funny because the color commentator is like, what was that word? I don't know what that word is.
I didn't know what it was until Herb told me, and then I had to look it up. But it just means like furious or really, really angry.
Yeah, it just means.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. If either one of you could tell me, because as you were talking, I've looked it up on my phone.
So I had no idea, but it's a word that I want to use all the time now.
Yes,
Herb, and once Herb told me it, I said the next time we're on like a call like this, I'm definitely going to use that word.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that word is the only time I've ever heard it used is in sporting events by the play-by-play guy. Yeah. Very, very strange. But they use it to describe coaches at the time. Yeah. So I don't know who started this trend. Yeah. But I've heard it several times. It's just really weird. I'm always like, what? Okay. Yeah. But to have the color commentator admit, like, bro, I don't know what that word means. Like, I don't know. They went to like a little thing and came back and he goes, now what was that word you used again? Does it mean vein bulging out of the forehead? Right. I was like, yeah.
I mean, I realize it's a bowl game. Did they give it its own little graphic down at the bottom? Apoplectic, to be furious or angry?
I have no idea, but I'm going to use it a lot now. I'm going to say it at work just to coworkers, just for the hell of it. So,
hey, look, just, we may not give you a lot of good betting tips here on the Ragsdale Rumble, but we do, or the Herb and Rodg podcast, but we will give you some nice words to take back to your friends and family that you can use. So if you learn nothing else from us, learn that. But we have heard both. You did say you were going for Washington. Right? I know we had a lot of stuff in there. You did say Washington, right? Okay. So everybody's going to Washington. Again, we will have a recap show after the national championship game in a week or two, with the trophy presentation and everything else, to whichever one has come out on top in the first ever year of the Ragsdale Rumble. But for all season, I have been your host, Big Mike. Hopefully everybody has a great national championship game if you choose to watch it. Don't know that I'm going to bring myself to do that, but being that we do have something on the line with the picks, I may tune in for a little bit. But hopefully everybody has a great national championship game and a great off season. So until we see you again, hopefully everybody has a really good time. And as always, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.